So ever since the release of the Ironheart trailer, it has been nothing more than a disaster for the Walt Disney Company, and we know that at the same exact time, a lot of fans never asked for a series like this, and this is a series that serves the typical Disney messaging, the typical Disney agenda coming from Bob Iger, and mind you, this show has been sitting on the shelf over at Marvel Studios for roughly 2.5 years, maybe even 3 years. It's pushing nearly that, after of course all the setbacks and the reshoots, factoring in all of that into play. But when you're focusing on a series like this, it is very much similar to the Acolyte series that debuted back in June of 2024, releasing around the same exact time as Ironheart. We know that these two series, alright, we know that the Acolyte served as the worst production for Star Wars / Lucasfilm, and based on the test screenings for Ironheart, this in isolation is going to be the worst iteration or the worst release of a Marvel TV show on Disney+. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So, we know that Ironheart, starring Dominique Thorne, she plays Riri Williams in the series. We know that she's a dumpster diver. She is one that also is one that steals all of the Tony Stark available assets, you know, all the extra suit material that she uses to create the suit that looks like a Power Ranger, that looks like something coming out of Transformers. I don't know what's going on there. But focusing on Disney and the overall desperation that's beginning to settle in and how they are embracing a lot of blame gaming going on right now. There's a lot of scapegoating to the maximum. We'll discuss that in just a second. Now, with the Walt Disney Company already dealing with extensive backlash due to their Marvel series Ironheart, doubling down on the typical Disney agenda and messaging in a series that nobody actually asked for, and for what's been sitting on the shelf for like 3 years now, one major development going on now involves the Ironheart firings that recently took place by Bob Iger and the Disney execs, as a form of desperate damage control and a near similar pattern to what also happened with the Acolyte and Snow White. Now, already the Disney Company held an emergency meeting over the Ironheart show as a last-ditch effort where they are now already negotiating or scapegoating as well over the backlash where they recently fired the entire marketing team that handled the trailer for Ironheart and the promotional works for the series. Now, this was the same exact marketing team, mind you, that was going to handle upcoming Marvel shows and films for 2026, where Disney is now focusing on a brand new marketing team entirely. This is also the same team, get this, that worked on promoting the Marvels back in the fall of 2023, the same exact movie, by the way, that starred Brie Larson. Now, in 2023, Bob Iger defended the same marketing team like no tomorrow, however, just recently decided to fire them over how massive the backlash truly is over Ironheart, and how the two test screenings for the series were best described as failures on an astronomical level, to the point that Disney and Marvel Studios now fear that this may very well hinder the momentum for Fantastic Four First Steps in July, given that Ironheart series, of course, releases on the 24th of June, and makes its way into the first weeks of July, with the last 3 episodes. Now, with the marketing team now officially out under Bob Iger's demands and the board's decision, this is reportedly Iger's desperate move to improve his appearance as Disney CEO before he decides to stand down in 2026, before the board chooses a new CEO to take over Disney. And not just that, but Dominique Thorne is now also getting booted from several Marvel projects as Ironheart, where she was supposed to make several cameos. For starters, Disney is already in the process of getting rid of Ironheart from Avengers Doomsday, played by Dominique Thorne, and Thorne was also set to appear in Avengers Secret Wars, and Disney executives are now pushing for her removal from that film as well, though that's not final in isolation just yet. Now, with the marketing team fired at Marvel Studios that handled Ironheart, both the Marvels, of course, and Ironheart as a whole, this is scapegoating to a whole new level by the Disney Company, where it shows that Marvel Studios is really not in the greatest spot right now, especially after Thunderbolts didn't really draw in as much money as they had hoped for after recent metrics just dropped and were revealed to the public. Now, guys, let me say one thing about Thunderbolts. Now, look, I know some people did not really like this movie, but a lot of people did actually enjoy the film. Unfortunately for Marvel, it didn't bring in as much money as they actually were hoping to, and now everything lies on Fantastic Four first steps in July, alright? This is basically going to be the movie of 2025. If this fails for Marvel Studios, it's not looking so bright for 2026 and for Avengers Doomsday. We'll have to wait and see exactly what happens with Fantastic Four. Whether or not Ironheart hinders the overall momentum for Fantastic Four is a mystery. Look, I'm not quite sure if it will hinder it to a very extreme level. It may very well actually hinder it to a certain percentage or to a certain extent, where people just say, I'm out, I'm done with Marvel at this point. But ultimately, we saw what happened with the Acolyte series. We saw the negative impact that show had on the entirety of the Star Wars universe in general. The Acolyte, by the way, is what caused Disney and, Lucasfilm to slash multiple Star Wars shows from Disney+. And this could very well do the same exact thing. It could have a very near similar effect. Now, Disney and Marvel are also pulling the plug on some said characters from Ironheart making any appearances in both Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. A brand new marketing team, get this, is now being put together as fast as possible to improve the TV spots for Ironheart, and a brand new trailer that is set to drop by the second week of June. This is all a desperate move just before the third test screening is set to take place for Ironheart, after the previous two labeled the series as the worst Marvel creation in history for the MCU. Now guys, let that settle in for a second. This is best described by the screeners who took part in 2 test screenings as the worst creation of Ironheart, or should I say the worst creation of the MCU coming from Ironheart. And I think that really just goes to show you how they really should have just canceled this thing. They should have kept this thing on the shelf. They didn't have to put this thing out there. They didn't have to release this thing. They could have, if they really wanted to, they could have canceled this. They could have shut this down. They could have, at least at the bare minimum, delayed it until 2026 and to see how Fantastic Four First Steps would actually perform on its own. But really, Marvel Studios, Disney, they are frightened that this could potentially impact Fantastic Four, negatively speaking, based on how the timing is going right now, right? This thing releases on June 24th. It's going to have a 3-episode debut. Also a major red flag, by the way, the fact that they're debuting half the entire show in one day, and the remaining 3 episodes will actually bleed into July, alright? Right around when Fantastic Four is all set and ready to go into theaters. And that's exactly why Kevin Feige, Bob Iger, the Disney executives, they are actually very frightened on the fact that there's a high percentage that this could actually take a cut out of those that are willing to go ahead and go to the movie theater to give Fantastic Four a shot. We'll have to wait and see. And look, we already know that Fantastic Four has some things going against it already. The whole female Silver Surfer thing, getting more screen time than the regular Silver Surfer, Norrin Radd. That's another thing to actually, focus on there. But overall, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about all this going into Ironheart, everything about the series. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.